Good morning, everybody, and thank you so much to members of the press and the community who have joined us here today. We've got some big news here today, another step on our recovery from the two toughest years of our city's history and from the COVID-19 pandemic. I should just say I got off the phone with Dr. Barbara Ferrer a moment ago, and I want to just say that we continue to see numbers trending in the right direction, slightly over 1,000 cases yesterday, good guidance from both the state and alignment from our county as early as this Friday on masking, and of course what happened last Friday, schools a week from now at the discretion of school districts. So really some great news. But we know that this has not just been a health crisis, this has been an economic crisis. This has been something that's hit not just families in terms of sickness, but also has sickened the economy. And we have wanted to make sure from the beginning, this city council and myself, that nobody gets left behind, that we always put an equity lens on everything that we're doing in the midst of our reaction to this pandemic. And so we're so proud today to stand with your Department of Water and Power, something that you own, something that is the largest public utility in the country, to clear and to announce that we've cleared $275 million in utility debt for hundreds of thousands of families and businesses who had fallen behind on paying their bills during the pandemic. I can't overstate how important this is, because we know rent relief, utility relief, the Angeleno cards, whatever comes in, money is money is money. And when you're struggling to pay your bills and to figure out what food you can put on the table or whether or not you can pay for your rent, this money has made a huge difference. We've wanted to prevent more homelessness. We've wanted to make sure we keep people in their homes. We've wanted to see businesses and individuals feel like they can clear the plate and not stress out about COVID long after it's gone because they're carrying debt when their utility. So the weight that's now been lifted off the shoulders of Angelenos, the opportunities to move forward that have now opened up is what we're celebrating here today. And this couldn't have happened without tremendous partnership. Council President Nury Martinez, who's been in our private meetings such an outspoken voice on rent relief, on utility relief, and she and her team have done a marvelous job. Councilmember Mitch of that best 13th district, another voice for equity and justice. I want to thank our DWP board president, Cynthia McLean-Hill, who works for free on your behalf and does an extraordinary job leading an all-woman DWP board for the first time in our history, and our extraordinary DWP General Manager, Marty Adams, who made this a priority, as well as our State Water Board Chair, Joaquin Esquivel. And I want to also thank our community partners, because we can get these programs established, but if we don't get the word out, they don't mean anything. The nice thing is that DWP has been working with community partners for a long time. So unlike other programs we saw sometimes that the feds or the state or even local folks put up, and people were overwhelmed by the number of people who called in, not having the capacity, DWP has that capacity. As you know, it was a priority of mine as mayor when we had half-hour wait times when I became mayor to get those down. And we hired a lot of people, we have the staff, they're well-trained, and they were able to take those calls and turn that around. But getting the word out was really extraordinary. So I want to thank them as well, and I think I'll get a list of the different groups to thank them by name as well. But let's take a step back for a moment. 2 years ago, March 2020, and this Saturday was the 700th day of this crisis, 700 days. I first issued an emergency order to slow the spread of the coronavirus and hopefully receive federal and state assistance. We had no idea what was coming, how painful it would be. Remember, we thought it would maybe be done by the summertime? But then we saw the impact on businesses, on workers, on their families. We knew that people were beginning to miss paychecks, and above all, we knew we needed to act fast. And that's why LADWP, at that moment, issued a utility moratorium. Something pretty controversial at that moment, at least inside our city family, but one that I know the council and myself were aligned on to ensure that people who couldn't afford to pay their bills as they lost their jobs or their hours wouldn't lose their homes. This was, of course, what had to happen. But the result over the course of this crisis was $827 million in unpaid bills. And for hundreds of thousands of individuals and families, business owners across Los Angeles, that debt hung over them as they struggled to gain a foothold after COVID upended their lives and wiped out their incomes and their savings account. For those Angelenos, the $275 million in utility debt relief was a much-needed break after a back-breaking 2 years. And they didn't even need to fill out an application. That was the beauty of this. We made it easy, and I hope that's a lesson for government moving forward. LADWP simply erased the debt from their accounts. Let me repeat that. LADWP simply erased the debt from our rate holders' accounts. That's thanks to the passage of the American Rescue Plan. And I want to thank our federal legislators and President. In combination with funding from the state, made it possible for us to clear the utility debt of 280,000 households and businesses in Los Angeles. But we're not done. And in fact, LADWP and LA Sanitation are seeking further funding from the state to help Angelenos that still have outstanding wastewater utility debt. That's one of the lines that you have on your DWP bill. So I'm so grateful for all the partners here today, proud of the work that we've done to speed up our recovery from COVID and to make sure that everybody in this city is able to turn the page on a new chapter and on a better day. En español, buenos días a todos. Hoy tenemos grandes noticias. Nuestro Departamento de Agua y Luz ha liquidado a $275 millones en deudas para cientos de miles de familias y negocios que habían retrasado en sus pagos durante la pandemia. En el 2020 emitimos una moratoria de servicios públicos para garantizar que las personas que no podían pagar sus cuentas no tuvieran una suspensión en sus servicios de agua o electricidad. Para familias y negocios a través de Los Ángeles, estas deudas persistían. Pero ahora hemos borrado la deuda de más de 280,000 hogares y negocios en Los Ángeles, gracias al Plan Rescate Federal y del Estado. Estoy tan agradecido por tantos socios hoy aquí, los miembros del Consejo Municipal, los grupos comunitarios, y tan orgulloso de todo el trabajo que hemos hecho para entrar a un nuevo capítulo. Gracias. With that, let me hand it over to my partner in doing all of this, and as I mentioned, a strong voice from the very beginning saying we can't just focus on rent, but we have to focus on utilities too, our City Council President, Nury Martinez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As we go into the third year of COVID-19 pandemic, we are still dealing with the devastation of the first wave. Over the last 2 years, we've seen parents lose their jobs, kids struggle through remote learning, and so many Angelenos just fighting to stay afloat. Families were left behind without a steady income and bills that were just simply piling up. And this city stepped up to help. I know what it's like to be that kid whose parents live paycheck to paycheck. What it's like to live in a household where if one parent loses their job, it means you miss paying your power bill and sometimes even missing your rent payment. Early on, the City Council jumped into action, setting aside $50 million of the CARES funding for utility debt relief. And we made sure that the money would be distributed equitably with no barriers to access for all Angelenos. When DWP realized that the past due bills weren't stopping anytime soon, we met the obligation. With our council's initial funding and the funds received through the American Rescue Plan and the state of California, we were able to help 250,000 LADWP customers keep their water and lights on. And even now, there are utility debt programs available that many Angelenos simply don't know are available to them. Some people think the automatic credit applied to their DWP bill, and they don't know, or they think they're under the impression that that's all the relief that's available to them, and that's simply not true. This is why we're here with DWP to kick off the Help is on the Way campaign, because we need to make sure that the most vulnerable communities know that there's still relief out there for them to apply. Too often, funding programs go to those people who know where the resources are at and they're able to access them. We have to make sure that every Angeleno knows that they have access to these crucial programs. The state relief set to surplus $300 million by this summer when the wastewater debt relief funding is available. It is more important than ever to work together to raise the awareness and help Angelenos get back on their feet. If you are wondering if you're eligible for any of these programs to help you with utility debt relief, please visit LADWP.com/cares. For the families sitting around their kitchen table wondering if they're going to be able to pay their electric bill this month, help is on the way. And for a single mother who knows that the bills are simply just piling up and she's stressed out about how to make ends meet, help is on the way. And all of Angelenos who have worked so hard to keep themselves afloat through this pandemic, through sickness, through job loss, we want you to know that help is on the way. Thank you, and where's their Spanish media here? Estamos aquí para comenzar la campaña del Departamento de Agua y de Electricidad que se llama La Ayuda Viene en Camino. Esta campaña estará enfocada, nos vamos a enfocar a los angelinos que simplemente no han podido pagar su bill del agua o de luz porque se han atrasado en sus pagos. Durante la pandemia, muchos angelinos se han atrasado con sus facturas de servicios públicos durante esta pandemia. Inicialmente, el Departamento de Agua y de Electricidad tenía unos programas para poder ayudar a las familias, para poder tomar acción y que ellos podrían recuperarse de esta pandemia. Estos programas están disponibles para las personas que califican, pero es muy importante que corranos la voz para que se den cuenta que ellos también pueden aplicar. Para poder aplicar o agarrar más información, conéctense a LADWP.com/cares para que puedan saber cuáles servicios están disponibles para ustedes y asegurarnos que ninguna familia se quede retrasada en sus pagos de la electricidad, de agua. Por eso estamos aquí, para ayudarlos con el dinero de más de $300 millones disponibles para las familias de esta ciudad. Muchas gracias. Are you introducing Mitch or am I?
Sorry?
Are you introducing Mitch or am I?
Oh, whatever. Okay, all right. We both are going to fight over who gets to introduce you, Mitch. But I wanted to thank the community groups real quick. Hermandad Mexicana Nacional, hacia Angelina Corona, thank you for your great work. Thank you to the Chinatown Service Center and Amy Zhao and Carrie Situ. Thank you for your great work as well. Thank you to Brotherhood Crusade, Jeff Logan as well. Thank you, Jeff, for the great work you've done. One Generation, Manny Hernandez. Thank you for making sure that we got the word out. Scope, Agustin Cabrera, and from Central City Neighborhood Partners, Lisette Arzola. Let's give them a round of applause because they really got the word out. Gracias a todos los grupos comunitarios por su trabajo. Next, it's easy for me to introduce him because he's now my new council member in my home and council member of the district that I lived in. The 13th district has come back to where I live, and I'm so excited. He's been a great environmental leader and a super city council member. Please welcome Mitch O'Farrell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Your vote-by-mail ballots arrived the first week of May. I want to thank Mayor Garcetti, my good friend, Council President Nury Martinez, and my friend Eric, of course. LADWP General Manager Marty Adams, Board President Cynthia McLean-Hill, and the entire Board of Commissioners. I am so proud to be here, and I have the incredible privilege of being the chair of the Energy, Climate Change, Environmental Justice, and Los Angeles River Committee, helping to lead efforts to provide relief to Angelenos and ratepayers during the pandemic. I think it's worth repeating. I think the council president and the mayor were both very, very humble in mentioning that in the city of Los Angeles, we enacted the United States' strongest COVID-19 eviction protections with more than $300 million to help struggling renters pay their rent, in addition to assisting mom-and-pop landlords with their mortgages who could have gone into default because they weren't receiving the rent during the pandemic. We didn't just help keep a roof over the heads of hundreds of thousands of Angelenos, we kept their lights on too. First, through the LADWP CARES Utility Grant Assistance Program, a $50 million program which I helped to approve as a member of the COVID-19 committee, along with Council President Martinez and now through the Help is on the Way program. I can relate to what families are going through and have gone through, even pre-pandemic. By the time I was 12, my family had moved 10 different times. I remember waking up to no electricity in our house because the power had been shut off. I know what it's like to be evicted. And it's important that we as representatives share our personal stories because they're relatable to what struggling families in Los Angeles go through. This is the real deal here. Even as we emerge from the latest COVID-19 variant, our work to uplift and help our most vulnerable Angelenos does not stop. And to anyone struggling with their utilities or everyday costs and essentials, my message is this. I will echo the message that the council president and the mayor mentioned. We are still here, and we will be here to help. That's what this latest iteration of the Help is on the Way program is all about, making it easier for Angelenos to access utility assistance, bill discounts, less paperwork, you name it. The more we strive to keep families housed, their utilities working, the better it is for the young kids to do better in school. This is a grand community building exercise to keep Angelenos safe, healthy, and secure. I want to thank everyone for being here today and to all of my colleagues and our partners at LADWP for your leadership in bringing security to thousands of Angelenos. And now it is my great pleasure to introduce our friend, the president of the Department of Public, DWP, the president of the DWP Commission, our friend, Cynthia McLean-Hill. Thank you so much.
So thank you very much. I want to start by acknowledging and thanking both Mayor Garcetti, Council President Martinez, and Councilmember O'Farrell. They say it takes a village to raise a child. I know a little bit about that, having raised two, but it takes an army to serve the city of Los Angeles. And without your leadership, we would not be here today. It is really a pleasure to join everyone here today and to highlight how we are helping customers pay their power and water bills as we continue to navigate this pandemic. We're especially pleased to reiterate that we have completed crediting our customers over $275 million to reduce their water and power bills. And even more help is on the way. Through your leadership, our partnership, and this effort, we have put our values into action by ensuring that those most impacted by the pandemic receive the assistance and vital water and power services that they need. We truly have demonstrated equity in action. The COVID-19 pandemic has been hard on all of us, but it has been especially hard on those who have the least, who have had to work the hardest to make ends meet, and who were often at the greatest risk. In the case of moms and dads, or sons and daughters who had to work multiple jobs to make ends meet, or who lost work during the pandemic and simply could not keep up with their water and power bills, we want you to know that we heard you, that we stand with you, that we are here for you. We know that our customers rely on our services to access employment, education, and economic opportunity. That is why, through the leadership gathered here, we suspended disconnections for non-payment approximately 2 years ago. Since then, we've secured funding and assembled programs to help customers who have fallen behind pay down their utility debt and manage their bills. We distributed $33 million in pandemic assistance in 2022 to 66,000 of our customers who applied for this federal assistance. We extended the moratorium on utility shutoffs through the end of this month and connected our customers with other rental and utility assistance programs. We finished applying $275 million to 280,000 eligible customers, wiping out utility debt for over 1/2 of our customers, 55%. And in the coming months, we will apply even more assistance to aid paying down and paying off sewer charges, bringing the total assistance to over $300 million. And we're not done. While the $300 million in state assistance has been talked about the most, we want every eligible customer to enroll in our new streamlined Easy Save Low Income Discount Program to save even more. We want every customer who still has a balance owed to sign up for extended repayment plans. They're easy to sign up for and for online or by phone. And if you're an Easy Save enrolled customer, we'll give you even more time to pay, up to 4 years. For our low-income customers, we've also set aside an additional $15 million of our own money to help pay down bills that piled up either before the pandemic or after the state eligibility window closed. Our goal is to provide the assistance and flexibility to ensure that every customer can manage their LADWP bill better and access assistance when they need it. This is the value of having a public utility. We are truly yours. We exist because of and for our customers, and there really is no better time to demonstrate our commitment to them than when they need it most. Before introducing our General Manager and Chief Engineer, Marty Adams, who will be sharing more with you about our assistance programs, I also want to just take a brief moment to acknowledge the support, the leadership, and the commitment of the CBOs who worked with our department. And they, as the mayor has indicated, are represented here today. I especially want to single out the Scope, Repower LA, and Lane for their dogged determination in working with my office in structuring some of these programs. I also want to point out that all of this work was supported in a meaningful way by our DWP employee union, IBEW. With that, and again, I'm quite pleased and honored to be here, humbled for the trust that has been placed in me. I'd like to bring to the mic Marty Adams.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here today to really celebrate a new beginning for our customers who have been struggling throughout the pandemic. And really to underscore what you've heard from the previous speakers, I can tell you that the mayor has set the stage for where the city needs to go in the future. And Council President Martinez and Councilmember Mitch, who oversees the committee that we report to, have not only taken that message and underscored it from the city council's perspective, but also reminded us that we have many people who are struggling in the meantime. We know that this city does not move forward if we don't move forward together. And we can't move forward together if we have people who cannot pay utility bills, who cannot get back on their feet, and cannot look toward a different future than what they've experienced the last 2 years. And so it is so important for us to get the word out. And, we have our CBOs here today, which without your partnership, this word does not get out. And certainly to the media, we turn to you because we need people to know about the programs that we have to offer. While the state programs and the $275 million we've had are applied automatically to bills, there's programs such as Easy Share that Cynthia mentioned and other low-income assistance programs that people need to sign up for. We're trying to make it as easy as possible for people to sign up and to qualify for these programs. But we have to get the word out to help everyone who's in need. And so it's really critical that we enlist your assistance in this effort, because we will do this together as a city, as a community, and certainly the outreach that all of you have to offer to help us will reach those who need this assistance the most. We also have the ability to help folks access other programs, the LIHEAP program and the Housing is Key program offered by the state and federal governments. We have programs that we can help customers with. We do not want any customer to be afraid of their utility or afraid of their utility bill. We'd like them to be a partner with us as we move forward. We are here to help. We're here to assist. We're here to connect you to programs that will get you out of the pandemic, get you out of the hole that this has created for so many Angelenos, and move us to a different future together. We have challenges ahead. We're trying to get to a green energy future. We're trying to deal with climate change. We're dealing with a drought right now. None of those things happen unless we can have everybody on board, standing on both feet, moving in the same direction. And so this program, the Help Us on the Way program, is really aimed to do that and to help everyone in Los Angeles work toward a future that we share together equitably, and everyone can participate and feel that they have a stake in the future of this city. I'd like to thank our staff, Senior Assistant General Manager Nancy Sutley and George Raphael, who heads up our customer service team, who applied CARES Act money, who applied the state money, and who are now ramping up to help customers on a one-by-one individual basis access the programs we need. Our Senior Assistant General Manager, Joe Romalo, who's over communications, our corporate strategy, is critical in this outreach effort, and his team that's here today. I'd like, if you have questions, reach out to them. Help us get the word out so that no one is left behind in the city and everyone is able to benefit from these programs and move into the future together. And I also like to thank Joaquin from the State Water Board. He and his peers on the power side and other state officials saw the importance of getting funding out to Californians who needed help. In Los Angeles, of course, probably the biggest place that needs assistance because the biggest population center, but other communities as well. We don't move forward without clean water that people can afford, without the ability to get out from under high utility debt on the power side. And so Joaquin and the folks that work with him in Sacramento heard us. They listened to us. They listened to public utilities talk, and they responded very generously and very creatively in a way that lets us help the most people possible. So thank you for being here today. And again, I implore you to please help us get the word out. Make sure no one is left behind. No one doesn't get the message that people are willing to turn to LADWP to help them with their bills and help them have a bright future. Thank you.
That is a really good introduction. Thank you for the introduction, Marty, and for the thanks. And it is truly, my name is Joaquin Esquivel. I'm chair of the State Water Resources Control Board. It's truly an honor to be able to join the mayor, the leadership of the council, and LADWP here to truly celebrate what is a first-in-the-nation program when we think of the scale and scope, the $1 billion that the State Water Board received to be able to pay down drinking water and wastewater arrearages. To LADWP alone, we were able to provide $86 million in order to help pay down what we know was water debt that accumulated because of the COVID crisis, because of the economic crisis that our communities were facing. And affordability of water is so top of mind because it isn't just the consequences and impacts of the moratorium and the economic downturn on water rates. It's because of climate change and drought and PFAS and other contaminants in our water that are putting pressure on the affordability of our systems. I think it's important to note that this is actually the 10-year anniversary of the human right to water in the state of California. And this is an incredible just resource that we've never seen before. And what we're fortunate to be able to highlight is simply that we're here. We're here as a continuum of response, not just to the COVID crisis, but we know to the climate crisis that is challenging our water systems. And the state board alone, and since 2014, has been able to invest around $10 billion in the state of California. That's low interest loans, that's grants, and that's in drinking water systems, wastewater systems, water recycling, groundwater cleanup, stormwater capture, and those investments are really at a moment where we're needing a generational reinvestment in these 20th century water systems that are facing 21st century challenges. So I'm incredibly honored to be here to celebrate, to take pause for a moment and acknowledge the incredible work that our teams and staff have done to provide this service to Angelenos, to Californians, and in a way that is incredibly innovative in that it gave dollars directly to water agencies to clear the debt of households, not putting it on households to have to apply and seek out that relief. And so I just want to commemorate and thank the leadership of Governor Newsom as well, who, because of the great leadership at the local level, instituted a statewide moratorium that saved lives, and I think really reminded us all that critical connection between public health, access to sanitation, and it doesn't come soon enough as well because this is actually the 50th anniversary of the Clean Water Act. And I think it's easy to take for granted the drinking water systems and wastewater systems that our communities are incredibly dependent upon and are the fuel of our economic success. So as we face drought, as we face these challenges, the board is here to support what is the critical local leadership that makes these things happen. So thank you, really appreciate the opportunity to be here and look forward to any questions.
With that, we'll answer any questions if folks have. Yes, there have been consistently. I don't, Marty, what's the latest? I mean, we're doing that regularly.
Yes, we are.
Come forward to the.
So we've been notifying customers in their bill about the credits being applied, and so that even though they don't have to apply, to make sure that people know that their credits are being applied to their bill. And we're continuing to roll out information about these assistance programs. And so, Joe, is there any specifics that you'd like to offer on this? So, as far as to hide in the back.
I saw a
Come on up,
shake
Joe.
of the head.
I'd like to introduce Joe Romalo. He's Senior Assistant General Manager over our communications and corporate strategy, and he can explain exactly how the outreach is going and how you can plug in.
Sure. Good morning. So every customer received an email notification if they were to receive a credit. Those credits are accessible and viewable online in real time. Those were made approximately a month ago. So if they check their account online, they'll see the amount of the credit. Also, in the bills that are going out and continuing to go out through the end of this month, because we have a 2-month billing cycle, some people will see it on paper when they receive their bill that they haven't quite yet received yet. Because we started these credits January 15th, so they'll complete around March 15th of this month. Sure.
Other questions? Yes, sir. Yes. Yeah. Yep. So we've been working very hard with the continuity of operations plans for each one of the departments. And the council president and I are working very closely together. I know she'll come forward as well. I've been a council president, so I know this building is actually controlled by the council, not the mayor, interestingly. And I think that we both share that we should have government services available for everybody in person as soon as it's safely possible. So that requires us to take advice not just of what we have to do, but also what's recommended to do. Because remember, even when some of these mandates are lifted, it still recommends that people do things, whether it's masking, distancing, et cetera. So whether it's spacing in the city council, seats and things like that, I'll leave that to every single department. But we're having those plans come back, and I think it'll be in the forthcoming weeks. But I'll turn over to the council president to speak a little bit more. But we're working very closely on this, and hopefully our goal is to get it as soon as possible.
Yeah, I agree. The only thing I would add, Dave, is we were working towards a reopening of this building back in the fall before this last surge. So we had some sort of temporary plan to try to start to reopen the building. And then this wave hit and we put everything on pause. So as soon as we can, we will. But we also need to bring people back, and we also need to make it safe for people in council chambers. I couldn't tell you if we, I hope that we can, but we don't know yet. So we're working towards bringing people back as soon as we can, but I can't give you a definite date today.
And one last, remember, we're not at low risk yet. We're moving towards that. And one of the things that Dr. Ferrer said, when we lift a lot of different things at once out there in terms of mandates, even as many people will still abide by them, we'll probably see a bump in the decline. So we're really going to follow the cases on this. We're going to follow the hospitalizations. We're going to follow the new metrics. So if it continues to decline this way, I do think that's realistic. But we just don't know in 2 weeks from now what will the effect of the changes that just went in on Friday and that'll come this Friday will be. Other questions? Sure. Baseball. Yeah. Well, you know, we absolutely would like to see the owners and players come together. I think it's time to play ball when it comes to the owners. I think it's time to play ball when it comes for the players. We've been through a lot together in this last 2 years. Baseball kind of got us through many of these. The Dodgers won and never got their parade, the World Series. So we're monitoring it closely. I've been in contact with the Dodgers organization. It would be my hope that they can, you know, do what it takes. We've done a lot of labor negotiations here over the years, and it means going around the clock, and I've been heartened to see that. I think there's been progress this week, but there's still some fundamental impediments, and it looks like if they can't have any agreement soon, that we'll miss traditional opening day. The players need time to be able to get in shape and to be able to practice with their team. So it's looking right now that they could break through in the next few days. If they do, we could have a delay of a week or so. But otherwise, we're going to see ourselves going well into later spring before we see any baseball, and I think that would be a terrible thing. Yeah, you know, sure. I mean, we've got employees at Dodger Stadium who wouldn't have a paycheck. We've got, obviously, players that contribute to the economy. We've got fans who want to come. And after many, you know, I think we're finally at a place where caseloads, hospitalizations make people who were maybe hesitant, confident about going back to the stadium and being able to feel like life is back. Let's not let a labor dispute get in the midst of that. Okay. No, but she was asking. See, that's answered like a politician. Very good. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. I think it's such a complicated negotiation. There's so many cities and so many different mayors that might prove difficult. But I know we've all been in contact with each other. Many of the cities that have baseball teams, following this closely, urging the owners to get an agreement with the players, because the impact isn't just in Los Angeles; it's in every major American city. So I think we can play a role. I don't think we'll directly negotiate though. Yeah. Okay. I think. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day. Oh, yeah.
Sí, el programa está establecido para las personas que se han retrasado en sus pagos del agua y electricidad, pero también tienen que calificar. Hay personas que perdieron su trabajo, que perdieron horas, que han dejado de trabajar porque alguien se ha muerto o han estado enfermos a través de la pandemia. Todas estas cosas pueden usar como para calificar para estos programas, pero lo más importante es dejarles saber al público que los programas son disponibles para ellos, para que puedan aplicar por el internet o por teléfono. El aviso les va a llegar cuando les llegue el bill del agua, pero es tan importante que sepan que el dinero está aquí disponible y que tienen que aplicar lo más pronto posible.